reconvene the council, the committee as a whole. There is a majority, although not needed. There won't be a vote today, obviously, but council members are present for the record. Councilmember Rivera, Golombek, Nowakowski, Bowman, Wyatt, President Pro Tem Scanlon. Did I miss anyone who's on? Are all on. In order for the public to be heard, there are three ways for you to be heard. There's a Q&A option. You can raise your hand if you would like your audio to be unmuted for you to ask your questions, and we will continue the written comments through Friday of this week. That will be filed for a public record. The comments that have already come in, which are numerous, and so we have already, so that the public knows your comments, each comment that was already sent in advance will be, has been sent to every council member. Clerk, we don't need to take a roll call, correct? Stated it.
Yeah, we'll take a roll call because we're reconvening from recess from earlier. So I'll do the roll and then you can go from there.
Okay, just do the roll of those who are on, please, for the record.
Okay. Council President Pridgen.
Here.
Majority Leader Rivera.
Present.
President Pro Tem Scanlon.
Present.
Councilmember Bowman.
Present.
Councilmember Golombek.
Here.
And Councilmember, I did see earlier, Councilmember Wyatt.
Here.
And Councilmember Nowakowski.
Present.
Quorum is present.
All right, so the speakers will have 3 minutes initially for their comments. I'm going to ask the council members, although it may be tempting to jump in between each speaker to give a comment or ask a question. If it is a question, you can ask it. However, if it is to make comments, I'm going to ask that we would get through all of the people who have so patiently waited. And then at the end, if you have a comment, if you have a question, we will roll back to that, remembering this is the public's time to be heard. So this is the public hearing. I'm not sure at this point then who is the host and who can see the hands that are up. Would that be Ms. St. John? Okay, so can you please, whoever you are assigning, give me the first speaker?
Just Buffalo Center.
Just Buffalo, we are unmuting you and bringing you to the floor. And if you could say who from Just Buffalo is with us, and then start your 3 minutes of comment.
Good evening, Council President and friends. I'm Lori Dean Terrell here on behalf of Just Buffalo Literary Center. We're a nonprofit cultural organization based in the city of Buffalo that serves thousands of city residents from all council districts each year, as well as serving as co-chair of Greater Buffalo Cultural Alliance, which represents residents, organizations, board members, and service providers and constituents throughout the city of Buffalo. As this budget is considered and prepared, we urge you to make this the year that cultural funding is elevated as a priority. We ask you to work with the mayor to establish a transparent annual process to make grant awards to cultural organizations based in and serving the city of Buffalo with clear timeline and listing of recipients. This is listed within the general fund, the summary of department appropriations by type on page 39. There's a line item, cultural and anti-violence funding, that is showing an allocation of $465,000 recommended for 2021-22. These grants could provide such a tremendous opportunity and could be a source of pride for the city of Buffalo and all of its elected officials. These organizations are among the best in the nation, and particularly with the additional infusion of federal stimulus money, the time has never been better to codify a City of Buffalo cultural affairs commitment. So we're asking you to work with the mayor, and we stand ready to work hand in hand with you to implement a process for this allocation. And further, we urge your support of The Partnership for the Public Good Community Agenda item number 4 is put forward by Partnership for Public Good, that a sustained annual fund be established at 0.25% of the city's budget for frontline arts organizations. This would be something that could be managed by Community Services and Recreational Programming Department. Frontline arts organizations and artists are defined as those who are from communities that are first impacted by climate, economic, and racial injustice. And given everything that's gone on in the last year, our community is hurting in such deep ways, but also we've seen an opportunity that we could do work hand in hand with you to make this, to be part of the solution and make this really a tremendous opportunity. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. I believe Heather G is next.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for this time. And I'm really here from Frontline Arts Buffalo, which was just lifted up in the previous speaker's announcement. And we're really here to speak to the same issues. It has been quite a while since dedicated cultural funding has been accessible from the city of Buffalo to all arts and cultural organizations. We certainly are aware that there are some arts and cultural organizations that receive funding from the city, but we are looking for a more equitable and transparent process that allows all arts and cultural organizations to participate. Specifically, as part of Frontline Arts Buffalo, which the previous speaker, I believe it was Lori, mentioned, we are looking for specific funding to the tune of 0.25% of the city's budget, specifically for frontline arts organizations. And a really important thing to lift up here is that frontline arts organizations are often doing community wellness work, as well as arts and cultural leadership. They're making sure that our communities are stabilized, and they're on the front lines, making sure that our communities are healthy and whole. And they really need the funding to not be in situations of precarity and be questioning every year if they're going to be able to be there next year. So we do make the same ask that was just said before, especially about the anti-violence and cultural funding lines, ensuring that those grants are available, and wanting to know what will be happening with the rest of the distribution of this year's funds on that funding line and next year's. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Heather. Josie is next up to speak.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Josie Diebold. I am here speaking on behalf of Showing Up for Racial Justice here in Buffalo. And I'm here in partnership with Black Love Resist and the rest, as we're concerned by the 2021 proposed budget that continues this historic trend of spending nearly a third of the general fund on the police, both on operations and police fringe benefits. Everybody here has witnessed the violence of the Buffalo police in the last year, who injured Quentin Suttles, Martin Gugino, Willie Henley, and others. And there's been no genuine or authentic accountability or repercussions. So we believe that we must now stop spending millions of our tax dollars on the police that are making our community members unsafe, and most especially poor and working class communities, Black and immigrant communities of color. And we have an incredible opportunity to use those funds to fund safe street infrastructure, youth education, employment, and housing, and jobs. And so I'm here on behalf of my organization to ask you to make a commitment to cutting the police budget, and doing so by implementing a hiring freeze, making larger cuts to overtime and court time, and refusing increases to any budget line from 2020, and cutting vacant positions, and moving civilian employees out of the police department. By taking these actions, you can cut the police budget by millions, by 16 million by one count this year. And that is an incredible amount of funds to invest in community needs that really provide for genuine and authentic community safety. And this is something we've seen happen in cities across the country in the past year, and we know that it can happen here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Josie. Next up to speak is Partnership for the Public Good. Partnership? All right, next up, this is Partnership still with us? Next up to speak is,
I'm here. There we go. Can you hear me? Sorry about that.
not a problem.
This is Colleen Christich. I'm a community researcher at Partnership for the Public Good. PPG appreciates that Mayor Brown has included funding for the Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program and for the council to have its own attorney, which will help legislation move more efficiently and independently in this year's budget. However, more changes to the recommended budget are needed. Primarily, the council should allocate more funding to programs that build healthy, safe, thriving communities, such as youth employment, foreclosure prevention, safe street infrastructure, behavioral health services, city parks and recreation, healthy housing rehabilitation and repair, block club grants, community-led safety and violence prevention, and meeting residents' basic needs. In contrast to these programs, there is no strong evidence that policing creates community wellness or even prevents crime. There is no strong correlation between the size of a police force and crime. Here in Buffalo, the rate of crime has decreased by over 40% in the last 10 years, while at the same time, the number of police officers has decreased slightly, but the police budget has increased dramatically by 57% since 2006, which is far more than any other department. Investigative Post reported that the average total cost for one police officer is $140,000 each year. About 25% of officers make over $100,000 per year in salary, overtime, and extra pay alone. That's not including fringe. And so we know that police officers are extremely expensive, yet we use police to respond to almost any issue you can think of: illegally parked cars, noise complaints, writing accident reports, loitering, much more. And in fact, most studies suggest that up to 70% of police time is spent responding to non-criminal matters. Police response times, which I know is a concern of many people on the council, police response times to actual emergencies would be faster if they weren't tasked with responding to every community issue, and violent interactions between police and community members are less likely to happen with fewer police interactions. So the city can use civilian departments and contract with community-based nonprofits to address many of these issues instead, which would save money and use tools that are more effective than policing at addressing social issues. So to that end, and knowing that a portion of the police budget is contractual, PPG is asking that the council stop adding to the police force to reduce personnel costs by attrition. So the council could cut vacant positions in BPD, cut the 34 positions for new hires, refuse increases to any line item in the BPD budget, move civilian positions out of the department, make bigger cuts to overtime and court time, and other cuts. And so we believe the council could reallocate over $16 million from the police department this year and fund desperately needed community investments. That would represent a cut of 19.5% of the operating budget rather than the proposed cut of less than 1%. And investing these savings into long-term community-based solutions has public safety benefits, such as crime prevention through environmental design. So together, reallocating money to these programs can help Buffalo address its outsized police spending in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is India Walton.
Thank you. I will be very brief as I have already submitted written comments. I would like to just echo and lift up everything that's been said, express gratitude to the council for providing this space. And just from what we've heard so far is an indicator to me that the public needs to be more engaged in this process at the beginning. Because the Common Council is our branch of local government that is accessible, I think a lot of times you are bearing the brunt of mismanagement at a higher level of government. And these suggestions should have been included in the draft budget. There are ways to engage the public that are not in times of crisis and last minute. And even this meeting is not as accessible as it should be because it requires internet and technology that we know there is an increasing digital divide in the city of Buffalo. So what I request is that the council work with the Office of the Mayor to revive the conversation about participatory budgeting, make it a true participatory budgeting process that is not contingent on using discretionary funding from council districts, but that there is a dedicated budget line item that will allow for true public engagement. And I respectfully request that the public have a way to engage earlier in this process so that we're not asking the council to function in ways that it was not intended to, and that the community be approached and have a say over how our taxpayer dollars are spent to make sure that those investments are being put in the proper places, and that it's in neighborhoods and in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any Q&A questions that staff wants to bring forward?
None at this time.
We have anyone else waiting with their hand up that I'm missing?
Not at this time.
All right. And I do want to state that, as the last speaker just stated, that the process starts at the mayor's office. So and we go through this every single year for the time that I've been on, encouraging people to contact the administration from the beginning of the process and begin having meetings with them, because by the time the council gets it, as Councilmember Franzek says, the mayor proposes, the council disposes. So it is not as if we can add to this budget. There is opportunity to negotiate, to move, but what I think would make it so much easier is if members of the community and the council does not control you going to the administration. You can always go to the administration with your desires. Council members, are there any comments, any questions?
Pardon, sir, we have 2 hands raised just before you went to the council members.
All right, I'm going to keep going down the line. Well, we'll go back to these and then I'm going to go to the council members. The next hand up is Jolanda.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm here representing the Fair Fines and Fees Coalition, and we are asking for the funds in the police budget to be reused and transferred into Just Streets or Safer Street Infrastructure in the city of Buffalo, using the already established City of Buffalo kind of programs that you all already have, like the Complete Streets program, the Safe Streets initiative that was just launched this year, and also to use those funds to create a new kind of traffic safety unit here in the city of Buffalo. And so we did some numbers and we came to a number of $5.8 million being reinvested into our street infrastructure. So that way we're not relying on cameras and the police to excessively ticket some of the most vulnerable people in our communities, but also creating safer streets for our children, cyclists, pedestrians, and other people using our streets to get around. So yeah, as Colleen said, the police spend a lot of their time doing kind of responding to issues that aren't necessarily real public safety issues, like issuing tickets for tinted windows and things that don't necessarily keep our streets safe. And so we're just asking that this money be reinvested into systems and things that we know do keep our community safe, which is reinvesting in our infrastructure in the city of Buffalo. Thank you.
Thank you, Jolanda. bridge.rauch@gmail.
Yes, hi, thank you. My name is Bridge Rauch. I'm with Buffalo Transit Riders United. I just wanted to speak in favor of, including sidewalk snow shoveling as part of, infrastructural spending, and also including, moving forward, bus infrastructure in street design. That's things like including designs for bus right-of-ways to encourage faster transit use, and building bus shelters, like within commercial districts that can help with like placekeeping within the commercial districts and encourage ridership. Much of this is, covered obviously by the NFTA, but we can definitely be supplementing using city funds, to service for transit riders, especially as part of like Complete Streets programming. We can be working to supplement affordable housing on bus routes to encourage, transit-oriented development practices, in an equitable way in particular. And I just want to point out, like, we have a parking budget which receives almost $1 million every year, but we're not putting nearly as much effort into reducing car dependency within our budgeting. So I just ask that, like, in the future we try to, maybe like have a hearing on like how can we improve public transit within the city with the funding that we have direct control over. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seeing no other hands, and I see a question that was asked, when should we approach the mayor? That would be up to you. However, the calendar, the mayor usually has to present by May the 1st. And the dilemma is the council must respond by the 21st. But in between holding the hearings, the workshops, and then begin the deliberations, it's a very short window at times to make very major changes. So I encourage the community, knowing that somewhere in the winter, the administration is going to be meeting for probably their internal talks to begin to send in those requests so that by the time it comes to the council, but I do believe that we do need to look at this process, and it is charter. So it would need a charter revision to change that process. Council members, were there any questions or comments from you all who have heard from the public? I know that several groups have asked for a separate public hearing. We moved this public hearing from the original date and when it has traditionally been in order to accommodate the public. We also had a way for people to be able to write in their comments and to call in that were announced in our council meetings. We will leave the floor open until Friday for those calls, and I'm going to have not only it announced here where you can write in and where you could call, but we will also announce it tomorrow in our council meetings. Unfortunately, as everyone knows, because of the pandemic, it is very difficult to you never know how many people are going to show up, and to bring everyone into the chambers and then possibly not have been able to fit them. We have no idea at this point. So we are doing the best that we can to accommodate all of our constituents. We'll have the clerk begin to, I'm sorry, I'm going to do this last one because the hand is up. And then after Diane, I'm going to ask the clerk to read the phone number that people can call and also the email address. Diane, you are the last to speak.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. Thank you. So my name is Diane Britton. I am calling on behalf of the Buffalo Transit Riders United. And thank you very much for taking my my comments today. I am requesting that the council looks at the budgeting or looks at a line for the budget for snow removal for the sidewalks and bus stops, as well as taking into consideration the amount of tickets and fines that go out to homeowners that either have disabilities or other factors that prevent them from being able to shovel their sidewalks. But for the largest piece of it is the intersections and the corners around the bus stops and these streets themselves that prevent people from being able to get onto the bus, as well as the disability community itself from being able to be mobile. And then so a snow removal program would be highly beneficial, and I'd like to request that be looked at for the budget as well as the streets. Being able to have the bus routes or look at an additional lane or widening the lanes in order to allow for public transportation and pedestrians to be able to easier have access to that. I realize it's the end of your meeting and I have already put in a comment on this as well. So I will leave you with that, but I just want to make sure that those points were lifted up. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Diane. And we also had someone else who brought it up, and one of the champions of that, one of the council members, I believe Golumbek, has been a champion of trying to get that done. So all of that will be considered. All right. Seeing no other hands, no other council hands, is moved by our majority leader to recess the committee of whole until and if we need to meet together in between now and any date, it will be announced, and that'll be seconded by Councilmember Wyatt. Let the clerk now read off the numbers where people can continue to talk.
If you would like to send comments, please send it to councilstaff@buffalony.gov. councilstaff@buffalony.gov, or you can give us a call at 716-851-5105.
Thank you. We are recessed as the committee. I'm sorry, not recessed. Yeah, we are recessed, not resolved. Thank you all.